I didn't plan on crying today. Yet here I am, outside the Islamic center, hands trembling, mascara smudged, heart pounding with a rhythm I've never felt before. If you asked me my name an hour ago, I would have said, I'm Dr. Olivia Smith, neurosurgeon, Manhattan. If you ask me now, I'd say, I'm a servant of God who finally found her way home. Let me start where the unraveling began. 6 months ago, I lost my father to cancer. He was the reason I became a doctor, my mentor, my compass, the man who believed I could stitch a broken world back together. I fought that disease with everything I had: research, procedures, second opinions, experimental trials. I threw my skill, my ego, and my entire identity at it. And when the monitors went flat and the room went quiet, a part of me died with him. After the funeral, I went back to work because that's what I do. People need surgeries, hands need to be steady, minds need to be sharper than grief. But something had shifted. I would stand in the operating room, execute with precision, and feel nothing. I'd drive home through glittering New York lights, past the restaurants where I was greeted by name, step into a penthouse with art on the walls and silence in the air. And it all felt like an echo chamber made of glass. I started waking up at 3 a.m. and walking to the window, watching the city breathe. I'd press my palm against the cold glass and ask questions I had avoided my entire adult life. What is the point of mending bodies if souls are starving? What are we building if everything ends in a quiet room with a flat line? Who am I without the applause? The first person who saw past my armor was a nurse named Fatima. She was new to our floor, calm, gentle, efficient in a way that made chaos feel brief. She moved through suffering like someone who understood it without being swallowed by it. When families broke down, she softened the room. When surgeons snapped under pressure, she didn't take it personally. And she had this calm, not a performance, something settled like an anchor. One night, after losing a young mother despite a flawless surgery, I sat in the break room with my hands wrapped around a paper cup of coffee I didn't want. Fatima walked in, nodded, and sat across from me. We stared at the vending machine for a while. Then I asked the question I had rehearsed for weeks. How do you keep doing this? I asked. How do you stay intact? She didn't give me a quote or a pep talk. She said, I don't carry what isn't mine. I frowned. She continued, I do my best, and I leave the outcome to God. My job is effort. Results belong to Him. Something in me bristled. Skepticism is a habit I wear like a lab coat. I'm a scientist, I said. I need evidence. She smiled. Evidence is everywhere, she said softly. Look at your hands, your breath, the order inside chaos. Faith isn't the absence of thinking. It's where thinking finally leads. I wanted to argue, but I was tired of winning arguments that didn't fix the ache inside me. Over the next weeks, we talked between cases. She never pushed. She just answered my questions. She spoke about Islam as if it were clean water, clear, necessary, life-giving. She talked about God not as an abstract idea, but as a presence nearer than your own heartbeat. She said life is a test, not a punishment. That meaning doesn't disappear in pain. It's often revealed through it. That success isn't accumulation, it's alignment. She invited me to visit her mosque on a Friday. I said no. Then I said maybe. Then one Friday, without planning it, I found myself standing outside a building with simple architecture and a quiet energy that made my pulse slow down. I hesitated at the door, a woman in a tailored suit holding a phone like a shield. A volunteer saw me, opened the door, and said, Welcome, come as you are. No one asked what I believed. No one cared about my resume. We sat on soft carpet. People listened with a stillness I envied. The Imam spoke about the heart, how it hardens when we chase what doesn't feed it, and softens when it remembers its maker. He used a word I had never heard, fitra, the natural state we're born with, an instinct that leans toward God the way a plant turns toward the sun. He said we bury it under noise, ambition, distraction. but it's still there, waiting. I felt like someone had reached into my chest and found a door I didn't know existed. Then he recited words from the Quran. I didn't understand the Arabic, but the sound itself felt like rain after drought. Someone handed me a translation. The verse said, "Whoever relies upon God, he is sufficient for them." I had relied on my hands, my mind, my training, my reputation. The weight of controlling outcomes had nearly broken me. The idea of handing that weight to someone infinitely wiser felt like oxygen. I kept going back. I started reading the Quran at night, quietly, like a child learning to walk. It didn't read like a human book. No flattery, no filler. It spoke to me and through me, equal parts scalpel and balm. It asked questions I didn't know I had. It described me to myself, my pride, my fear, my hunger for meaning. It was like standing in front of a mirror that showed not the face I present to the world, but the one that prays when no one is looking. The turning point came in the operating room. We were deep into a difficult brain surgery. A vessel ruptured. The room snapped into emergency mode. Lights harsher, voices tighter. I felt the familiar surge of adrenaline, the spotlight of responsibility narrowing to a single point where failure means everything. My breath hitched. For a heartbeat, I was that orphan child again, alone with a problem too big to carry. And then, I don't know where it came from, I whispered, "In the name of God." Bismillah. My hands steadied. My vision cleared to a precise, merciful focus. We controlled the bleed. We finished the procedure. The patient lived. When I scrubbed out, I leaned my forehead against the cool tile wall and cried. Not from relief alone, but from the realization that I didn't save that life. I served. I worked. God saved. I had finally understood the difference. That night I called Fatima. "I think I know," I said, voice shaking. "I think I've known for a while." On a quiet Friday, I returned to the mosque. Not as a curious visitor, but as someone ready to stop running. They asked if I believed that there is no God but God, and that Muhammad is his messenger. I did. They asked if I wanted to say it out loud. I did. I repeated the words in Arabic. La ilaha illa Allah, Muhammadun Rasul Allah. And it felt like opening a window in a house I didn't realize was full of smoke. Air rushed in, light walked through the room. I cried the way you cry when you finally put something down that's been breaking your back for years. Afterwards, people hugged me. No one asked what I did for a living. No one cared how impressive my world had been. They called me sister. And for the first time in a long time, that word didn't make me flinch. It fit. Nothing about my daily routine became cinematic. I still wake before dawn. I still scrub in. I still navigate traffic and deadlines and the throb of a city that forgets to sleep. But everything changed in the hierarchy of my heart. I begin with God's name. I work like it matters, because it does. I release the result, because it isn't mine. My father's absence still aches, but it's no longer an abyss. I pray for him. I ask God to have mercy on him. I honor him by healing, not just bodies, but my own stubborn soul. I measure success, not in applause, but in sincerity, not in headlines, but in hidden hours where no one sees, but the one who sees everything. People ask if I'm afraid of what I've given up, of what people think, of who I'll be now. The truth is, I was more afraid when I was worshipping uncertainty. Now I know who created me, why I'm here, and where I'm going. And certainty is a kindness you don't recognize until it holds you. If you're listening to this wondering whether I lost myself, I did. That's how I found who I really am. If you're searching, I hope you find what I found. The courage to ask better questions, the humility to hear better answers, and the grace to let your heart return to what it always knew. My name is Olivia. I am a Muslim. I still hold a scalpel, but I no longer hold the universe. I finally put that down. And that is why I'm crying. Not from confusion, but from clarity. Not from loss, but from being found. Not from weakness, but from the strength that comes when you lean on the one who never needed you to be anything but honest. All praise is due to God, who brings the living out of the dead heart and the light out of the darkest night. I stepped through the heavy wooden doors today and walked into a life that was waiting for me all along.